Shocking truth. Russian millionaire at beach. Wait until the waiter speaks in fluent Russian. A breathtaking scene unfolded at the sunny shores of Clearwater Beach, where fabrications danced in the salty breeze and secrets lurked beneath the glistening surface. The vibrations of beach volleyballs and laughter clashed with an undercurrent of something far more chilling. Eyes were drawn to a figure reclining on pristine white sand, surrounded by shimmering umbrellas. This man, clad in dark aviators and a tailored swimsuit, captured attention like a magnet. A millionaire, undoubtedly. Yet what was more astounding than his luxurious tan was the way he commanded respect from everyone around. An air of mystery swirled, as though he were a phantom of the sea. Meanwhile, a newcomer walked into this sun-soaked puzzle. A waiter, thin and unassuming, glanced nervously at the millionaire. But when he opened his mouth, the sound that spilled forth was pure intrigue. He spoke in flawless Russian, the words curling like smoke into the air, turning heads and dropping jaws. The blend of accents and rhythmic lilt rang out like a peculiar melody against the infinite beach noise. Who was this waiter? Why did the millionaire need to hear Russian? A crowded beach fell silent, tension knitting through the sun-soaked day like an unwelcome cloud. What did that man want? Was he simply enjoying the beach, or was there something darker? The weight of uncertainty pressed against the observers, their eyes darting among the mass of sunbathers. A child giggled nearby, momentarily cutting through the air, but the sound quickly faded into the shadow of an oncoming storm of whispers. Each person felt a tightness in their chests what was about to unfold. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun dipped lower, sparks of tension feel alive like fireflies caught in twilight. The millionaire leaned closer to the waiter, his expression unreadable. The waiter nervously adjusted his collar, a glimmer of sweat shining on his brow. What secrets did they share? The answer lingered tantalizingly just out of reach, like a piece of driftwood who'd seen storms but never made landfall. The shadows whispered, the waves crashed, and all eyes were fixed, hungry and anxious, waiting for the next act in this enigmatic theater of the unfamiliar. What would happen next? Only time would tell. A sudden hush fell over the beach, wrapping the crowd in an anxious tension. Each person strained to catch a whisper of the conversation unfolding between the millionaire and the waiter. The sun, a fiery orb retreating behind the horizon, mirrored the pulse of uncertainty. Shadows loomed longer, the light lowering to an eerie dimness that amplified the mystery. The waiter lowered his voice, words spilling forth like a confession. I can't keep doing this. His face twisted in fear as he glanced over his shoulder, seeking escape among the throngs of unaware sunbathers. But the millionaire leaned closer, an insistent whisper clawing at the edges of the waiter's resolve. You owe me, Vasily. After everything we did, you think you can just walk away? Think about your family, he said, his tone slicing through the noise of the beach like a knife. Gasps rippled across the sand as bystanders sensed they were eavesdropping on something monumental. Observers exchanged incredulous glances, their assumptions about some ordinary beach scene shattered. Who was Vasily? What secrets did the two men share? Vasily's eyes flickered with panic, darting between the millionaire and the beachgoers who were suddenly way too close for comfort. Sweat trickled down his temple as he hesitated. Eternal loyalty or desperate escape? The stakes felt impossibly high. Please, his voice trembled like fragile glass. I did what you asked, every single thing. No one will find out. Time hung heavily. The millionaire's cold gaze pierced into him, a silent judgment that held Vasily hostage. Someone among the gawkers half-whispered, is he in trouble? The words ignited a fire of speculation. Another voice gasped, what is happening over there? What began as a relaxing beach day spiraled into an unexpected drama unfolding before their eyes. Then, without warning, the millionaire stood, towering like an austere fortress against the backdrop of tranquil waves. The intensity of his presence silenced even the most innocent laughter. With a deliberate step closer, he reached out, gripping the waiter's arm. The gleam in his eyes promised power and vulnerability, fear and control mingling together in a dangerous dance. Vasily looked trapped, the fight drained from his shoulders. "I can't go back, not after what we did," he blurted out. The revelation felt like a punch in the gut to the onlookers. Whispers fanned out like wildfire, fueling curiosity. What kind of thing had Vasily done? What was his connection to the millionaire that felt so suffocatingly tangled? The tension on the beach escalated. People shifted uneasily on their towels, as if they were mere spectators at a tragedy waiting to unfold. Eyes widened, breaths held. Vasily's expression shifted from fear to resolve. Maybe he understood the cost too well. "We'll settle it at midnight," the millionaire said, releasing Vasily's arm, his smile tight and unreadable. The harsh finality of the words echoed through the hush, leaving uncertainty hanging like a thick fog. As the millionaire sauntered away, the crowd buzzed, each whisper weaving new stories. What was this midnight meeting about? Who else knew? The intrigue spread through the beach like ripples in a pond, and all at once, everyone felt the pulse of something sinister lurking beneath the sun-soaked surface. But Vasily stood frozen, trying to process his next move, a life teetering on the edge of a blade. What would he do now? Where would he turn for help? The shadows grew longer as the night beckoned, and a storm was brewing, both in the sky above and within Vasily's tortured heart. What lay ahead as he faced the consequences of an unspoken pact? The beach was slowly emptying, but Vasily felt trapped in this prison of uncertainty. Shadows flickered like ghostly whispers around him, nipping at the edges of his resolve. The sun's final rays vanished, and an unsettling darkness enveloped the shore, punctuated only by the distant roar of crashing waves. A brutal knot twisted in his stomach as he caught sight of the millionaire's silhouette fading into the night. Midnight, the word hung in the air, a bitter reminder of the deal he had made, binding him closer to the man he feared. Was loyalty worth the price? Every second felt heavier, as if the darkness itself were clawing at him, demanding answers. He could hear the whispers of the crowd in his mind, the way their curiosity turned into a morbid fascination. What had he done? What were the stakes? Vasily's heart raced as he finally turned away, moving through the smattering of towels and coolers that littered the sand. He needed to get to his family, to warn them. But he needed to act fast. The wind carried the scent of danger in its breath, and time was slipping away. "Vasily," a voice called from behind him, pulling him from the edges of his thoughts. It was Lisa, his sister. She stood at the water's edge, her face illuminated by the soft glow of her phone, concern etched deep in her brow. "Are you okay? You look pale." He forced a smile, but it felt like a thin veneer stretched too tight. "Just tired," he lied, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. "What are you doing here? I saw you talking to that millionaire. I thought you might need know." He interrupted, his voice sharper than he intended. Panic sparked in Lisa's eyes, but she braved the growing tension. "Vasily, we need to talk. Mom and Dad are worried. They can feel something's off." A wave of anger surged through him. How could he explain the web in which he was tangled? "It's nothing. I swear. Just some business stuff." She narrowed her eyes. "You've been acting strange since you started working for him. I know something's wrong. Please, just tell me." The dread coiled tighter around him. "I'll explain everything later, okay? Just please, get home, and don't talk to anyone about this." Lisa's expression teetered between fear and frustration, but she nodded slowly. "Fine. But Vasily, be careful." Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked away, leaving him feeling more isolated than before. With every step she took, an unbearable weight pressed down on him. As he strode to his car parked at the beach, echoes of unfinished conversations haunted him. The millionaire's threat loomed large in his mind. What could happen at midnight? The evening air was thick with anticipation, and the stakes felt as real as the waves crashing against the shore. Once inside his car, he took a deep breath and felt the cool leather against his skin. The whispers of the beach faded momentarily, replaced by a surge of determination. He couldn't let fear dictate his path. But what was his next step? Reach out to someone, or confront the millionaire directly? Each option seemed fraught with peril. Pulling out his phone, Vasily hesitated, his finger hovering over the screen. Who could he trust? His heart raced as he thought about the seconds counting down to midnight. Time was running out. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a message. It was from an unknown number. Curiosity and dread battled within him as he opened it. "Meet me at the old pier at 11:30. I have information that could change everything." His breath caught in his throat. The old pier, unforgiving and shrouded in darkness. What kind of information? Could it lead him deeper into danger, or offer a way out? As the clock ticked relentlessly toward midnight, Vasily felt a chilling truth settle in. Whatever awaited him at the pier could very well redefine everything. He had to go. There was no turning back now. What awaited him there? Was it a lifeline or a trap waiting to close around him? The questions lingered, heavy and foreboding, as the night deepened. Vasily's hands trembled slightly as he gripped the steering wheel, the engine vibrating beneath him. He took one last look at the beach before pulling away, the dark waves crashing and pulling, dragging whispers into the night. It felt like a warning, a reminder that he was stepping into treacherous waters. The old pier came into view, an ancient, wooden structure jutting out into the sea like a skeletal finger reaching into the abyss. Swaying lanterns flickered at its entrance, struggling against the encroaching darkness. His heart thudded with every step toward it. What lay ahead? A part of him wanted to run, to leave it all behind, but midnight was creeping closer as he approached. A figure shifted in the shadows. The dim light illuminated a face. He recognized a man named Igor, someone he had worked with years ago, back in his hometown. Igor was rough around the edges, known for his shady deals and quick smiles that never quite reached his eyes. "Vasily," Igor greeted, his voice gravelly and low. It sent chills down Vasily's spine. "You came." "Yeah, I got your message," Vasily replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. "What is going on?" Igor's eyes darted around them, the tension thickening. "You're in danger, more than you know. I'm here to help, but you need to trust me." He leaned in closer, the scent of stale cigarettes and something sharp filling the air between them. "Help? From you?" Vasily scoffed, shaking his head. "Why would I trust you after everything that happened?" "Because you don't have a choice," Igor hissed, glancing back toward the shore, where faint sounds of laughter and music floated through the air. "Tonight's not just about you. It's about that millionaire. And he's got plans that could ruin your family." Vasily's stomach dropped. "What do you mean? He told me it was just business." Igor laughed, dark and humorless. "Business? That man is a predator, and you've become his prey. This deal you think you're involved in, it's much darker. Come with me." He gestured toward the depths of the pier, where shadows danced like ghosts. Vasily hesitated. Did he really want to follow a man with a tarnished reputation into unknown dangers? But fear for his family ignited urgency in his veins. "I have to know," Vasily said, determination breaking through the torrent of doubt. "What do you know?" "Let's just say," Igor replied, his voice dropping to a whisper, "if you don't act by midnight, you won't just lose your life, you'll lose everything you hold dear." As they walked deeper into the inky darkness, the sound of crashing waves faded, leaving an unsettling silence. It felt suffocating. Igor stopped, pulling out a small device from his pocket, a flashlight, flickering to life. "This is where we need to talk," he said, shining the light on the worn planks. "Although you might not like what it reveals." The beam danced along the pier, and Vasily's eyes widened. What was hidden beneath? Beneath the surface of his trust and fear? Shadows shifted, and his gut churned as foreboding settled in. Whispers filled the air, chilling and insistent. "Vasily, you need to." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them as the last of the light flickered out, plunging them into total darkness. No sounds of the waves, no signs of life, only silence and the pulsing thud of his heart, thumping painfully against his chest. "Vasily." Igor's voice was barely above a whisper, panic breaking through as he fumbled for the flashlight. What had they stumbled into? As a shiver crept up Vasily's spine, terror enveloped him. Surrounded by uncertainty and darkness, he realized the stakes were rising, and the clock was ticking toward an unspeakable fate. What truly awaited him was more than a revelation. It could be a death sentence. "Let us go," Igor shouted, but as Vasily turned, he saw figures emerge from the darkness, silhouettes shifting ominously. The night was coming alive. And with it, the reckoning of choices made under the veil of deception. Vasily's path was becoming clearer, but at what cost? Dread wrapped around him, urging him to run, but he stood frozen, torn between fear and the desperate need for answers. As realization hit, the urgency became unbearable. What was coming? Would he find the truth or become another ghost lost in the shadows? The darkness pressed in, stifling and heavy. Vasily's breath came in quick, shallow bursts as the outlines of the figures drew closer. The distinct sound of footsteps echoed around him. Fear seized his throat, choking any words he might have wanted to scream. "What do we do?" he whispered, gripping Igor's arm. "What did you get us into?" "Stay quiet," Igor hissed, pulling Vasily closer as they shuffled backward, hearts pounding in synchronicity. Every shadow felt like an enemy, every creak of the pier beneath them a reminder of their precarious situation. Then, a voice pierced the silent night, sultry and smooth, a man's voice, thick with menace. "You took too long to decide, Vasily. Time is not on your side." Vasily stiffened, recognizing the tone. It was the millionaire, the very man who had promised easy riches, but whose darkness now cast fear over everything he held dear. "Maxim," Igor spat, his voice tight. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm just ensuring my investments are secure," the voice purred, moving closer. "And you two have jeopardized things more than you realize. You wouldn't want to disappoint me, would you?" Vasily squinted into the shadows, trying to make sense of the dark figures. There were men at least 4 or 5 stationed between them and the exit of the pier. Panic burst into a full flame in his chest. The footsteps continued until they ceased abruptly. "That flashlight is weak," Maxim said casually. "Lucky for you, I have what you need." With a swift flick, the darkness was sliced apart by an intense beam of light. Maxim stood before them, mouth curled into a chilling smile, flanked by men who looked all too comfortable with chaos. The beam illuminated the glint of something metallic in their hands, and Vasily's stomach dropped. "You should consider my offer, Vasily," Maxim said, his voice smug. "The past is locked away. But if you choose to refuse, I won't be intimidated," Vasily shot back, anger pushing through fear. "This is about my family." "Exactly," Maxim agreed, stepping closer. "And your choices determine their fate. Think carefully." He gestured dismissively toward Igor. "You shouldn't have come here with him. He's not your friend, he's only here to protect his own interests." Vasily felt, for the first time, a flicker of something other than fear. Doubt. Could he trust Igor? Was he just as tangled in this web of deceit as the millionaire said? Igor's voice wavered, and for a moment, fear replaced swagger. "Don't listen to him. We can get out," but Maxim laughed, a cruel sound that echoed off the pier's wooden beams. "Listen to him. A fool's guidance, perhaps. The truth is, I can protect you or bury you." A tense silence fell, broken only by the gentle lapping of the waves against the pier's pillars. Vasily's heart raced, each thud drumming a new possibility in his mind. He needed to act, to decide. And then it hit him. What if this was a chance? An opportunity wrapped in danger? "Enough!" Vasily shouted, surprising even himself. The menacing smiles faltered. "I'm done with your games, Maxim. What do you really want?" Maxim's eyes narrowed, intrigued. "So, you want to play? Fine. Let us make it interesting." Vasily felt the tide of uncertainty wash over him, but he pressed on. "What is it going to be? A deal or a threat?" "Both," Maxim replied, his smile widening, revealing perfect white teeth that seemed to glimmer under the flashlight's beams. "You'll go back home with answers, or not at all." The weight of those words settled heavily on Vasily's shoulders, a terrifying promise hanging in the air. He glanced at Igor. Trust or betrayal? It was a gamble that could cost him everything. That moment, he realized life was never about comfort. It was about choice. But what choice could he make in a world fed by deceit? Just then, a figure dashed across the pier, someone from the shadows moving with urgency. As their identity flickered into view, Vasily's heart dropped. What were they doing here? "Wait," he called out, but the silhouette vanished into the night, leaving only unanswered questions spiraling in his mind. With everything on the line, he needed to act, both for himself and for those he loved. The clock tonight was unforgiving, and midnight loomed ever closer. What was it going to take to secure his family's safety? Would he join the game, Or would he risk everything and fight back? The answer was just beyond the shadows, and Vasily felt the pull to discover what lay ahead, no matter the cost. The tension thickened like fog as Maxim's presence settled heavily between them. Vasily's heart pounded with urgency. He could sense time slipping away, grasped only by shadows. Igor's expression mirrored his fear, eyes darting around for any exit. "Stay calm," Igor muttered, though his voice shook. "We need to think this through." Vasily clenched his fists at his sides, fighting the impulse to run. "Think. We're surrounded. You really think that will work?" "Trust me," Igor replied through gritted teeth. "We need a plan, and panicking won't help." "Plan?" Maxim interjected, his smile growing wider, almost predatory. "What a quaint notion. You're not dealing with a college prankster, Vasily. I play for keeps." As he stepped forward, the flash of metal caught Vasily's eye, the glinting barrel of a gun. Chills radiated down his spine. Suddenly, he knew physically what fear felt like, the icy tendrils creeping into his chest, tightening around his lungs. The idea of losing everything propelled a storm of adrenaline through him, pushing him to confront the fear head-on. "Maxim, if you want something from me, let's talk, not fight," Vasily said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Oh, clever boy. Perhaps you're catching on," Maxim drawled, glancing back at his men who stood like statues in the beams of the flashlight. "But we're not getting cozy here. You have 30 minutes to give me an answer. Either you play my game, or your family pays the price." "What game?" Igor demanded. "This isn't a joke. We won't let you hurt anyone." Maxim turned, his amusement unfazed. "Denying me will change nothing. You like to profess loyalty to each other, but loyalty is worthless against greed. Just ask your friend." Vasily's stomach lurched. Was Igor a double agent? The stray doubts crept back in, gnawing at him like a wolf on a weakling. But before he could voice his thoughts, a faint scuffle erupted from farther down the pier. What was that? A new voice emerged, uncertain yet determined, cutting through the heightening anxiety. Maxim's gaze snapped in that direction, his posture instantly alert. "Who's there?" he called, irritation lacing through his question. For a heartbeat, silence fell before a figure emerged from the shadows, disheveled, yet commanding. It was the waiter from the nearby restaurant, typically clad in a crisp white shirt, but now smeared with mud, his eyes wild. "Stop! I saw everything," the waiter shouted, his voice slicing through the dark tension. "I won't let you hurt them." Maxim's expression turned from amusement to rage in an instant. "Get him!" he barked, motioning toward his men. Vasily's heart raced as he and Igor instinctively moved to protect the waiter. Was it bravery or foolishness? Either way, amid the chaos, it felt right, like a spark igniting a fire. "No," the waiter shouted, throwing himself into them with surprising strength. "Listen to me. You don't understand what you're involved in." "What do you mean?" Vasily snapped, barely able to contain the mounting panic. "What do you know?" The waiter, panting, pushed back his disheveled hair. "There's more to Maxim than you think. The stakes are higher, and time is of the essence, Vasily." Maxim's men were closing in, and the situation pinned them, urgency thrumming like a taut wire ready to snap. "Enough games, huh?" Maxim shouted, stepping back. "You want to stay alive? Then listen up, because the clock is ticking." "You're mad," Igor yelled, stepping forward, defiance washing over him like heat. "What's your angle? Why not just take us out here?" "Because," Maxim said, leaning in with a sinister smile, "I want to watch what happens when you're all pinched in a corner. I want to see who will betray whom." The weight of his words hung in the air, fraught with impending chaos. It felt like a trap closing in tighter around them by the second. Vasily's mind raced. He had to find the truth, fast. "Tell us what you know," he demanded, looking at the waiter, desperate for answers that could save them all. With determined eyes fixed on Maxim, the waiter swallowed hard. "I can help you, but you need to trust me. There's a way out, but only if you're willing to play his game." The sunlight of dawn peeked timidly on the horizon, but dread filled the air like a storm ready to break. Could they trust him? Was betrayal lurking within their own ranks? As Vasily searched the faces around him, uncertainty gnawed at his insides. What choice would he make? And what truth loomed just beyond their grasp, ready to unleash chaos on everything they held dear? Vasily's pulse thundered in his ears as the weight of the situation crashed down around them. The air was thick with anxiety, the kind that clung to your skin like dampness from the sea. He glanced back at the waiter, whose wild eyes were now filled with fierce resolve. "We need to talk fast," the waiter urged, urgency dripping from his words. "Talk. We're about to be gunned down." Igor snapped, glaring at Maxim's men, who were inching closer. "Not if we play this right," the waiter replied, putting a hand on Vasily's shoulder as if to ground him. "Maxim isn't just some thug. He's connected to a web larger than you realize. His operations, they stretch across continents." "I don't need a geography lesson," Igor spat, frustration boiling over. "What is your plan then? Trust me, we can turn the tables." "We must play along with Maxim for now," the waiter insisted. "But you have to be ready to act when the moment comes. I know a secret about him that could be a game changer." "Secrets won't save us if we're dead," Vasily shouted, desperation flickering in his eyes. "That's why we need to keep him talking," the waiter affirmed, casting a glance at Maxim, whose expression was now a mixture of irritation and curiosity. "Then let us talk," Vasily said, squeezing his eyes shut for a split second, forcing down the tension curling in his gut. "Maxim, what do you really want from us?" Maxim raised an eyebrow, intrigued, but there was a sly smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Clever boy, trying to spin the situation. I can appreciate that." He moved closer, his voice dropping conspiratorially. "I want information. Your friend, he has connections, doesn't he? Interesting friends, important ones." Igor's face paled, the implications slamming into him like a freight train. "You're insane. We're not giving you anything." Maxim's smile faded, the predatory glint returning to his eyes. "You misunderstand. I don't need you to give me anything. I'll take it unless you want to play a little game for it." "What kind of a game?" Vasily asked, masking the trembling beneath his bravado. Maxim leaned back, considering them. "A simple one. Each of you will reveal a secret. If you fail to reveal something of worth, the consequences for you will be dire. But if you reveal your friend's deepest secrets, well, maybe I won't kill anyone tonight." The atmosphere shifted, ripe with tension. The ultimatum chilled Vasily's blood, and he gritted his teeth, unsure if he could trust the waiter's instincts. "Everyone has secrets," the waiter said, slowly stepping forward, seemingly confident as he weighed the risks. "Vasily, you've hidden something about your past, haven't you?" Vasily's heart sank, not ready to reveal anything. "That is not fair," Maxim chuckled, his eyes glimmering with wicked enjoyment. "Life isn't fair, my dear Vasily. It's about survival. Now, let us start with you." Across the pier, the shadows of Maxim's men loomed larger, their patience dwindled. Vasily could see the impatience in their shifting feet, the way they gripped their weapons tightly. "Think carefully," Maxim warned, leaning closer. "Decisions now will cost you later. Or save us," the waiter challenged, shooting Vasily a look that screamed determination. "We can do this together. Just trust me." Vasily felt the stakes rising. Tension crackled like static electricity, and all he had was time that was running out. He glanced at Igor. The unspoken bond between them, strains of trust and doubt weaving together, made him understand he had to act. "Fine," he croaked, voice quivering with fear and anger. "I'll go first." Before he could speak another word, a loud crash echoed from behind them, shattering the intensity. All heads turned, eyes wide. Maxim's expression twisted into fury, igniting a sudden panic. "Stop!" he roared, directing his men to inspect the source of the noise. The moment of distraction hung dangerously, a precious lifeline in a tide of despair. Vasily's heart raced. Was this their chance? Now, the waiter urged under his breath, urgency spilling from his every movement. The clock was still ticking, shadows were drawing near, and chaos was just about to erupt. Would they seize this moment? Or would they lose everything in the chaos? The stakes had never been higher, and trust had never felt so tenuous. The air charged thick with uncertainty. What would they choose next? The crash echoed on the pier, a jagged sound fracturing their tense standoff. Vasily felt his heart pound in his chest. Panic rippled through him as he could sense the momentum shifting. Maxim's gaze darted towards the noise, fury glowing in his eyes. "Stay put," he barked at his men, but the sudden chaos sent a pulse of confusion through their ranks. Seizing the moment, Vasily glanced at the waiter, who nodded slightly, a silent promise woven in his expression. Now, the waiter urged again, urgency spilling from his lips. Before they could move, footsteps thundered from every direction. Vasily's mind raced. Was this the chance they needed, or would it lead them deeper into a trap? He tightened his grip on his own nerves. Suddenly, a figure burst forward from the shadows, a woman, hair cascading like dark waves, eyes fierce with determination. She held a clipboard in her hands, now flipping it open. "I'm here to check permits," she shouted, confidence radiating from her voice. Maxim's men hesitated, questions brewing in their eyes. The waiter seized the opening. "That's it. We're shut it," Maxim hissed, his focus shifting back to Vasily and Igor. Vasily could see the fear reflecting in Igor's eyes, a mix of hope and disbelief. The woman's sudden appearance was a spark in the darkness, but Maxim's rage loomed. "Friends of yours?" Maxim sneered, taking a step towards Vasily. "Where's the secret, then? Out with it." Vasily felt the tension coil tighter in his chest. "She is not enough," roared Maxim, his voice echoing off the pier walls, emboldening his men. "How about this? You give me what I want, or I make it difficult for her to talk." The woman, unfazed, planted her feet. "You're making a mistake, Maxim. The authorities are coming. This area is under surveillance, and your actions here won't go unnoticed." "Authorities?" He laughed, a sound that clanged like metal on metal. "You really think I'm afraid of a few uniforms?" Vasily's head spun. Time was running out, and every second they lingered could mean their lives. He needed to act, but how? The waiter had promised a way out. He just needed the right moment. "Take her hostage," one of Maxim's men shouted. "No," Igor yelled, stepping forward. "You can't do that. She's enough." Maxim cut him off, his voice dripping with menace. "What will it be, Vasily? Secrets, or I put an end to all of this? From what I hear, the girl over there could use a good chit-chat, but I'll decide the terms." The weight of control shifted violently in the air. Vasily could feel the walls closing in. The waiter looked back at him, desperation etched on his face. Something deep within Vasily snapped. He had to protect Igor, this woman, and himself. "Fine," he shouted, throwing his fear out into the open like a safety net. "You want secrets? I'll give you secrets, but you have to let her go first." Maxim's eyes glinted with intrigue, but then narrowed. "And why should I believe you?" "Because I'm offering you something worth more than your violence," Vasily replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "You want connections? I can lead you to someone who can help you expand your empire. If you let all of us walk away alive." Maxim's smile returned, but it was cold, calculating. "Now we're getting somewhere. But I need to be convinced you're telling the truth." The tension snapped like a taut bowstring, ready to launch into chaos. The shadows loomed larger, and the multitude of choices hung in thick air around them. Vasily swallowed hard. Every second felt like a ticking clock, and one wrong word could plunge them back into oblivion. "Make it quick," Maxim growled, leaning closer. "And pray you don't waste my time." Vasily's heart raced, the stakes spiraling up with every heartbeat. He felt like a gambler at a high-stakes table, each breath a wager. "The truth is," he started, but then a siren pierced through the air, bright and screaming, shattering his thoughts into a million shards. "What have you done?" Igor whispered, horror swirling in his eyes as they all turned towards the sound. But it wasn't over yet. The real test was about to begin, and Vasily was standing at the edge. Would he risk everything for the truth, or would the sirens pull them all into darkness? The clock was ticking, and now was the time to reveal everything or nothing at all. The sirens shrieked through the night, piercing the tension like glass splintering underfoot. Shadows sharpened, and fear pulsed, reminding Vasily of what was at stake. Igor stood frozen, watching the chaos unfold, while the woman maintained her fierce stance, unyielding against the tide of madness that threatened to drown them all. "Now you've done it," Maxim hissed, a whirlwind of fury coiling around him. His men shifted uneasily, glancing at one another, uncertainty creeping into their hardened faces. It was a mistake to let surprise invade their ranks. That was his vulnerability. Vasily could sense it. Maxim's eyes darted to the pier entrance, where red and blue lights bloomed against the gloom like manic flowers. "Get ready," he barked, his voice cracking like thunder. "We need to finish this." His gun gleamed cruelly beneath the dim lights, and for a moment, Vasily's throat tightened. Would he have to watch someone die tonight? The reality of betrayal began pulling at the corners of his mind, stinging with dread. Then, just as quickly, he felt a surge of determination. Enough was enough. Wait, Vasily blurted out, grasping for anything that might de-escalate the situation. You want to know about connections? You think I'm lying? I can prove it right now, but we need to prove it? Maxim interrupted, stepping closer, invading Vasily's space with menace dripping from his every word. Listen close if you're wasting my time. I'll send you straight to the abyss. The woman beside him shifted slightly, and Vasily caught a glimpse of something buried deep in her eyes, a flash of understanding and vulnerability. It gave him a flicker of hope. Right now, we're all targets, she said, her voice steady. This isn't just about you, Maxim. You're outnumbered by the authorities. They're closing in. Vasily knew he couldn't just throw her under the bus. She risked everything to stand by them, facing a man who thrived on fear. She's right. We need to leave and talk somewhere safe. I can lead you to someone you want to ignore, he pleaded, revealing the play he had in hand. But Maxim's face contorted in thought, weighing options and power. Then it cracked into a predatory grin. A safe place? Where? You think I'm naive? You've got only one shot at this. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed off the pier, growing louder, filling the air with a sense of imminent doom. Vasily could sense the fear crawling through the group behind Maxim. The sirens were closer now, and who knew how much time they had left. Let us cut to the chase, Maxim sneered again, pointing the gun at Vasily's chest. You either give me the name, or I'll turn this into a bloodbath. And I promise you, he lifted his gaze, locking on the woman. She won't leave unscathed. Vasily's heart raced. The urgency sang in his veins. A sweat broke free on his brow. The name is Leo Petrov. He can get you anything you want if you let us go, he said desperately. The silence that followed was heavy. Maxim's men gaped, processing the name like it was a secret hidden in their midst. Petrov? One of them echoed, glancing back at Maxim. I don't believe this, Maxim said, jaw tightening, though uncertainty flitted across his features. Why should I trust you? Because I'm betting my life on it, Vasily retorted. And if you don't, well, at least know this isn't going to end well for you. Maxim's eyes narrowed, weighing every move and option while the sirens shrieked, drawing ever closer, sinister wind whispering promises of doom. With a heavy silence, both men stood firm, locked in a battle of wills. The chaos was closing in, and the air thickened with palpable dread. But then out of nowhere a loud crash echoed behind them, cutting through the tension and freezing the moment. What now? Someone hissed, panic igniting in their eyes. But it wasn't just the sirens or chaos that pressed into the atmosphere. A figure emerged from the alleyway, tall, cloaked in shadows, but unmistakably confident. Vasily's heart sank as he recognized the silhouette. Leo, he breathed. This wasn't the savior he hoped for. No, this was something far more dangerous. And as Leo stepped into the dim light, a haunting smile on his lips, Vasily could almost taste the dread dancing along the edge of the knife. What had he brought upon them? And could there still be a way out of the pandemonium that was about to unfold? The chaos reached a fever pitch as Leo stepped into the light, his presence commanding instant attention. The piercing sirens still echoed in the distance, but the brooding weight of the moment shifted focus completely. Vasily, Leo drawled, his voice smooth yet laden with an undercurrent of danger. What a tangled web you find yourself in. Maxim's grip on his gun tightened, wild uncertainty flaring in his eyes. You, what the hell are you doing here? Vasily wanted to scream, to flee, but he stood frozen, his heart hammering. This was not a reunion of friends. Leo was a force, an element of chaos that only heightened the stakes. The room held its breath, an electric kind of tension had taken residence, buzzing in the air like a live wire. Thought I'd drop by, Leo replied, unfazed by the hostility. He glanced at Vasily, measuring the weight of their shared history. I hear you've made some interesting friends. Business, Vasily forced out, the word feeling hollow as it left his lips. You've got to help us. Leo's smile faded for just a moment, eyes narrowing in calculation. Help? In a game like this, you can't just ask for help. What's in it for me? You're in danger too. Vasily blasted back, desperation thick in his tone. Maxim, isn't going to let any of us walk out of here. Maxim stilled, awareness flickering within him. You're the one who brought this into my territory, Leo. What is your play? Are you really here to help him? Let us not kid ourselves, Leo replied flippantly. This is an opportunity, Maxim. All of us here are pawns, and you know it. But the king isn't in the room yet. And just like that, the atmosphere thickened again. What are you suggesting? Maxim's voice quivered with a trace of anger as he shifted his gun between Vasily and Leo. Vasily took a half step forward, heart pounding. A truce. Let us all work together to get out of here. Allying against the real power behind this mess. A sudden, self-satisfied smile crept onto Leo's face. Yes, right. Think about it, Maxim. You benefit while we make our escape. And you hold all the cards. The moment dragged. An eternity of calculations danced behind Maxim's eyes. Everyone could feel the pressure, the ebb and flow of each word spoken. But before Maxim could reply, the sirens grew louder, cutting through the tension. Enough of this, he hissed. You think I'm going to trust either of you? Trust? Trust has no part in this, Leo replied, his voice firm. But survival? That is something we can all agree on. You don't want a bloodbath, Maxim. You need information, just like we need to get out of here. The silence cracked as it became apparent to everyone. Moments were slipping by unchecked. It was just a matter of time before the authorities burst in. You've got 10 seconds, Maxim declared, swiftly glancing toward the entrance to assess the position of his men. Tell me something I need to know, or we revert to the original plan. The moment weighed down Vasily like a blanket. Vasilisa can help you. He blurted out, his sister's name hung heavy in the air. She can lead you through to safety. She knows things. She has connections. Maxim's eyes narrowed dangerously. She better be worth it, he warned, shifting his gun back toward Vasily. That's all we have. Leo interjected suddenly, his boldness commanding attention. Now, if you don't want to play the waiting game. The seconds ticked by like grains of sand slipping through fingers. Maxim's gaze flicked between Vasily and Leo, calculating risks, potential rewards. Then he sighed for all too noticeable reasons. Fine, he grumbled. But consider this your only chance. Betray me in any way, and you'll expect your family to pay instead. Agreed, Vasily blurted, relief flooding through him like a long-dormant river finally released. Let us move. Maxim barked to his men, cutting through the curtain of tension. The assembled group would need to weave a new path, and Vasily's heart raced with the potential for survival. Collaboration binding their fate together as they navigated the remnants of chaos surrounding them. Igor stood beside Vasily, the strength of their friendship rekindling amid the threat clawing at their reality. The waiter caught his eye, determination written across his face. We're in this together, he mouthed, hope flickering amidst the doom. Time was no longer their ally, but the bonds tightened as they made their way to safety together, pushed by urgency and relentless sparks of adrenaline. Maxim led them into darkness, but with each step, Vasily visualized the light rising ahead. Escape, the embrace of family, and salvation from a world of shadow. As they slipped away from the pier, Vasily felt the magic of collective resolve merge with the desperation of their situation. Yet the shadows of doubt lingered, and visions of safety danced teasingly on the edges of his mind. When dawn finally broke, it heralded not just a new day, but the promise of answers, loyalty, and fresh beginnings. Vasily made a silent vow, holding tight to the precious fragments of trust amidst looming uncertainty. Now it was time. Time for closure, for healing. The shadows had passed, but the resilience of survival sparked hope anew. Remember, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss what's coming next. These stories are just beginning. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how this all wraps up. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is everything.